Hello and welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I will be your host this evening, and this is another repeat offenders edition because some people just like to come back on again. Now, joining me tonight from Underestimated Games is Gary Devereaux. So hello again, Gary. How are you?
Hello again, Richard. Thanks for having us back on again, and I'm glad to be a repeat offender, shall we say?
You get a little parole slip and everything like that when the show finishes. That's what we're doing. We've not moved on to branded yellow or orange jumpsuits yet, but we're kind of considering it. But last time we spoke, and it was a little while ago now, if I just look at my way back when clock, we were speaking about your game, Purgatory.
That's right, yeah. I mean, I think time has either slowed or quickened, and I couldn't tell you when we actually last spoke.
I'm going to actually check because I'm
quite
interested to know.
Yeah, so
I'm kind of intrigued to know exactly when it was, so I'm just going to flick down my list of... Because we've been doing ridiculously stupid amounts of episodes. So...
I'm going to take a punt. My punt is either September or late August.
I reckon
maybe
it was... I'm going to guess it was round about the 15th of September.
Oh, it's an amazing guess. I wonder what the accuracy rate is.
I reckon that you were on... I think the entire show lasted about 1 hour and 1 minute and 22 seconds.
I think that's cheating.
That's what I'm... I mean, it's a guess. I'll need to go back and check if it's okay. But the Kickstarter came out.
Yeah.
The Kickstarter went live. And then you set down the path of... There was some genuine interest. You set down the path of going towards getting funded. How was the process for you? Because we've spoken to lots of different people now, and some of them have obviously funded with a little bit of spare cash to go. Some of them have funded to the moon and back. What would you say the whole Kickstarter experience was kind of like for yourself?
I think if I'm entirely honest, I'll divide it into two. When we set out the Kickstarter itself, when we first pressed that button, it just went mad. And we funded within 24 hours. So we hit our funding target very, very quickly. And we realised actually at that point in time that we'd clearly got ourselves a little bit of a following where there was some genuine interest from people in Purgatory. There was a lot of chatter about it, a lot of shares, a lot of people just genuinely, it was quite a topical thing at the time. So initially it was pretty good. We were quite confident going into it. And we had our ducks in a row. We were quite organised, which you would expect from a company, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I think when you launch a Kickstarter, you do two things. You kind of go, well, we're confident in our brand. We're going to go it. It doesn't matter who else is there. But you also, being quite nosy, you look around and you say to yourself, what else is out? What else is coming up? What am I going to come up against? Kickstarter is now a very competitive marketplace, and you have to consider what the impact of others is going to be because, we are still small. We're relatively unknown. And when we announced that we were going to go to Kickstarter, we did it in May last year. And we kind of said to ourselves, look, we started learning that these big projects were coming out, Deep Madness and the likes of, and we kept sort of saying, oh, here comes another one kind of thing. And we decided in the end that the best thing for us to do was actually to stay true to our word and be professional about it and say, look, we're not just going to put it off. We're going to carry on going. We said we're going to do it. We'll do it. And we did, and we funded, and then sort of returning back to my first 2 points, the second part I would say it was quite challenging. I would encourage anybody who's going to have a Kickstarter to turn notifications off.
Why is this?
The honest answer is that it is probably single most stressful thing I have ever done.
Yeah.
You can't share that load amongst people. There's an email address that all of the correspondence goes to. So every time someone leaves and comes back, or leaves or joins, it tells you about it.
Does it actually tell you who it was as well?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it tells you. The name of the person. Well, we had someone join and leave the campaign. I think she left 13 times. I think it was 13, and I think she came back right at the death 14. That's 27 notifications.
Just for that one person.
And it's remarkable, really. And the reason why it's stressful is because it's yours. I mean, for those people that picked up the first podcast, and if you haven't, I suggest you do, because you learn a lot about what purgatory is. It's our creation. It's something that's come from the guts of a twisted mind, and when you put it out there and go, take me, so to speak, and people do, and then people don't, and then people might, and then they don't, and then you go through that. You go through an absolute blender of will they, won't they. It's like the Nescafe adverts from the 80s on steroids. It's just remarkable.
Because during all this, I mean, you had kind of external stuff kind of happening as well. You had you've got a little family going on now as well, and you've kind of got all these things which have kind of happened. I mean, does it take so much of your focus? I mean, were you finding it difficult to concentrate at work? Did you have to turn your, as you said, you just completely have to end up blanking the campaign, or did you set yourself time to say, right, I've got to go through these comments and answer the comments, or what did you end up kind of doing?
The wife actually sat me down, which doesn't happen often. And she said to me, I think you should turn that off and then put it on at certain times of the day. Because what's difficult as well is that when you put something out on Kickstarter, it's multinational. So all the British people, they do what they do during the day, and Europe does that too. And then when you sleep, your phone goes mental because the Americans and the Australians have woken up and they're doing their thing. So it's 24-hour harassment, I guess. And in honesty, yes, it was a distraction because I wanted it so badly. Yes, I was able to filter it out, and I found a mechanism to deal with it. That sounds quite bad, but the amount, the sheer volume of interactions, to use a social media norm, I suppose, is remarkable. I think it was something in the region of 5,000 to 6,000 emails, each of which is a notification by the time the project is finished.
That's an awful lot. And I mean, there's always and there's the one that you're gonna miss. Or did you put up a specific kind of email address for the Kickstarter campaign? Or
I was an imbecile, and that's the honest answer. I was an imbecile.
Did you use the info at one or something?
No, I didn't. I actually, what I done is I set up my own Kickstarter account and was a Kickstarter customer. And then I set Purgatory up on the back of it, and then didn't realise that my personal email address was the one, shall we say?
That would have been delightful.
No. So, but it's as an experience, it's a fascinating thing. I feel that I could write a book on it. We literally we got to, and we made mistakes, and I can go through what I think what we will do differently next time, because we will do it again, despite all of this, and what we learned from it was that actually you can communicate to everybody. It doesn't help you to do that. We very much tried a professional and personal route where we responded to every single message we received, and we actually achieved that. I take great pride in that. And we gathered some really cool information from that, and we got to the point where we funded very quickly. We unlocked stretch goals. People were interested, and then Deep Madness came out, and we lost $4,000 overnight, and that was the end.
How did you feel at the time then when that happened? Were you just like, what's going on? Why would people dump money? Do you reckon do you reckon that there's the Kickstarter crowd can be a kind of a fickle bunch? That there are people that will move from project to project and back others and take money off and put money back in again? Well, as you demonstrated, you've got people that have withdrawn 13 times to only back on the last possible minute. I
have to be careful because careful is the wrong word. Respectful is probably a better word. You know, we've met some fantastic people along the way. And I've actually made some really, really good friends that I talk to probably every other day from the Kickstarter. They are customers that just talk to me and send me stuff, pictures of kittens, that kind of thing. So you have to be respectful of it, but it's a weird thing. What I learned from it, and you might find this interesting, and your listeners very much so will, is that what people do is rather than use the bookmark me function that Kickstarter has, they lump £100 on or whatever the big thing is, and that's their bookmark. Because statistically, and we've checked this and it's absolutely right. Statistically, what happens is you get more people leave when you post an update. Because what you do is when you post an update, you remind people that they've got that pledge sitting there. And they go, actually, I don't want that anymore because I want Deep Madness, for example, or Star Saga or whatever it might be. And that's something that we learn. And how I can't describe how I felt the morning when we very, very nearly got underneath funding because we just lost all those people overnight. And I guess there is some fickleness to it. I think a lot of the problems comes from, and again, I can't be too critical because it's a successful business model, but some large companies are using it as a pre-order system. So it's very, very difficult for someone like us to create a sound business model where we can give away so much for small value and guarantee it. Kingdom Death, for example, was a hugely successful project the first time around, and he lost an absolute fortune on it because he, by his own admission, didn't realise that it would go as big as it did. And had to find a way to meet that, and we, as two guys, couldn't risk that. So we made a sustainable model that we knew we could deliver, and when we get on to our progress against the Kickstarter, I think has been validated. But it's an absolute roller coaster. We had one guy. We had a £1,200 pledge. It's a silly amount of money. And you have it because everyone else does. And literally number 3 pledge when the thing first opened was for £1,200.
I remember seeing that, and I was thinking, there was two parts of me that thought this is somebody that is, a big backer of these things and believes in the project, and there was another part of me that thought, this was a close friend who was really wanting to support the project, and I saw it kind of went, and I went, oh, that was it was a huge amount. Because how quickly did they kind of unback from there?
48 hours, I think. I seem to remember, it was 48 hours. The weird thing was, I think what people do is, I think there was an earnesty to that person. I think what people do is they lump in to help it break stretch goals. Because people are all about value, and it's important. It was part of the big, the model we built for it. And the more value people can get, the more stretch goals they can unlock, and the more free models that are included, then by lumping big volumes of cash on like that, will help smash those through and increase value for them. So even if they drop their pledge back down to £200, by virtue of lots of big pledges, they may actually now get more for their money, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes kind of total sense. I mean, did you? You're at the point where you potentially might go back under funding again. I mean, what's going through your mind? Are you thinking about pulling the plug? I remember us having a kind of conversation going, what the hell's going on here? Is it this thing? Is it that thing?
It was difficult, if I'm honest with you, fella. It really was. I mean, we did nearly, because the £4,000 was a blow, and then that was accentuated by the 50, 60, 70 reductions or emails that were cancelling the service. You know what I mean? They're cancelling their commitment, and it made it very difficult. And we kept looking at it and going, what aren't we doing right? And we just glanced over at what else was out in the market, and we were. At the time, we felt unfortunate, but since that time, so many people have said for you to have funded as a small company in and amongst all of these other things is actually, impressive in its own right. Because we did go up against Deep Madness, we did go up against Star Saga, we went up against Moonstone. We went up against. I think at one point there were Armored Syndicate was live when we were there as well.
Oh right, okay.
I know Ben quite well. We done a crossover in the end, and it was a very, very challenging time, and so when we nearly dipped under funding, we looked at it and went, if we drop beneath funding, then we can't do this. Actually, do we stop it and stop wasting people's time and stop wasting our time, and we go back to the drawing board and look at where we went wrong, or do we stop it and launch a time where there might be less giants about? And actually, when we first decided to launch, there weren't that many giants about, so there was no guarantee, if you know what I
mean. Sorry, that's what I was going to ask, and I've got a bit of phlegm in my throat. Lovely.
Sexy.
It's hot stuff. It does deepen my voice, though, which is always good. Welcome to Jazz Club. Nice. What I was going to say is, do you think, based on what's happening in the last 18 months, do you think that Kickstarter is moving away slightly from its original kind of goal, which was to allow companies with no capital at all to bring an idea to the table and for people to kind of put money out there?
I think you're right. I think Kickstarter is something altogether different. The problem you have is that let's imagine, dear audience, that we are the CEO of Kickstarter, and someone brings a complaint to our table that says, dear so and so, this company is using it as a continuous pre-order system. And then you sort of look at your secretary and go, well, what did that project do? And they say 4 million. And you go, do we get 10% of that? And they go, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get this right. We got 40 grand from them just using our website. Yeah, pretty much. And the thing is, the big companies, let's face it, accounting is a ball ache. So you for 10% of your revenue, you get a debt collection service that's, pretty good.
It's like you either get your stuff, or what we do is after a week, if you're one of these people that you haven't kind of, if you've not put the right payment method in, you need to correct it, or there's not enough funds in your account, then basically we switch off your pledge, and that's you gone. You're out of the ring.
There's a flaw to that, though. There is a flaw to that. I mean, as a company owner, and actually, I'm a salesman as well. You look at, whenever you sell anything, you look at what value you get in return, or what value is your return on investment for this. And so we paid 8% of our Kickstarter, and I was disappointed is a polite way of putting it. We had £1,600 worth of pledges that people didn't pay. So imagine a situation. I'm going to simplify it. But if you needed £1 to buy a Mars bar, and you asked 10 people for 10 pence each, and 10 people committed to giving you 10 pence each, and then when it all closed down, 2 of those people didn't pay, the problem you've got is that technically, because they'd committed, Kickstarter registered you as having £1. So you reached your funding target. But then afterwards, 2 people didn't pay. You've still got to go and buy that Mars bar, but you've got to do it for 80p now.
Right, okay.
And what happened to us is that we funded to 14,000, whatever it was, and then £1,600 worth of people didn't pay, and that would have taken us under funding, and it did take us under the funding limit we needed. So we've had to find that difference.
Oh, right, okay.
Which
do
is
you think?
Hard.
Sorry, I was going to say, do you think then that there should be maybe a 2-tier Kickstarter system, which you've got like almost like a Kickstarter service for the old and weathered kind of Kickstarter companies? You know, the guys that will turn up kind of campaigns once every 6 months, say, you know, who are just coming on and saying, look, here's our latest campaign. We want, you know, we need 100 grand. We know we're going to make 1.2 million or whatever, but everybody kind of knows it's a pre-order type thing. And there would be another section on Kickstarter to say, well, here's the new bright and shinies, and these are all guys which, you know, are brand new. I've only done maybe 2 or 3 projects, and you kind of focus, because and this is terrible because I can't. I'm standing in a place where I have backed decent sized projects. I've backed guys which have never kind of funded a game before, and it's and if that works for them, if Cool Mini or not are producing great games that everybody enjoys and everybody's really, really happy with it, then that's fantastic. But then on the other side of it, if the Kickstarter mechanism seems to be, well, here's the most popular games, and all you have in the top row are all the kind of the big hitters, then surely you're more likely to put the money on the big hitters.
It's a difficult one, Richard, if I'm honest with you, chap, because you know, simply speaking, if there's, you know, I admire the thought, but it wouldn't work because some people are lazy, and I include myself in that. So, you know, I'm not being harsh, but I don't think anyone would care one bit if it was in a separate bracket. They would still go looking for what they wanted. I think what I would have expected from Kickstarter, being brutally honest, is if you pay 8% and people don't pay, that shouldn't come out of your pocket. It should perhaps come out of theirs. They're the ones providing the service. So if the service fails, you kind of think that you should be covered as if it's an insured service, if that makes sense. You know, for example, if you purchase a model from somebody and it doesn't arrive, or it arrives broken, you expect them to replace it or at least reimburse you.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah.
So you know, you kind of expect that, given Kickstarter makes these huge volumes of cash, that actually, in the event that you know, cash wasn't collected successfully because someone entered the incorrect bank details or erroneous data, then you would kind of expect at least some level of protection. I'm not suggesting it should be all, because, you know, Kickstarter can't expose themselves to massive quantities of risk, but you would expect there to be some level of sort of, you know, comfort, I suppose. But what I have noticed about Kickstarters is that the backlash is growing. The companies that are using it as a pre-order system, the comment sections are fierce.
Yeah.
And I don't condone that. And actually, it kind of brings me quite tidily on to something else that's part of Kickstarter, and it's something that bubbles under the surface and is actually quite unpleasant. But it's a growing swell, and I think the only way they can really fix it is if Kickstarter sort of demanded a premium for companies that have different degrees of turnover. So if, for example, you have a 5, 6, 7 million turnover, then you should pay a higher premium for using Kickstarter, because actually that would, in one simple step, big companies would probably still use it because they wouldn't care about those 2 or 3% because they just build it into it. But at least it separates out the smaller companies and gives them a firm platform, because ultimately bigger companies are able to drive more traffic because they've got a bigger following, and because they do that, they're higher on KickTrack, which means they drive more traffic to them naturally.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a vicious circle, really. And I think that's a mechanism that Kickstarter could apply that might make a difference.
I mean, has it? Okay, going forward. I mean, for you, I guess looking at future projects. Has the kind of the Kickstarter experience for you kind of went, I'm going to have second thoughts about running something again across Kickstarter? Or are you just saying, well, listen, there was a couple of factors that kind of kicked in at the time which maybe didn't help, but I'm still going to jump in, potentially using Kickstarter for the next project?
I can't be bitter about Kickstarter. Everything... nothing is perfect. We made so many mistakes, Richard, and I don't mind admitting that. The fact that we've come out the other end, the fact that we're at where we're at with our fulfillment, and actually, we are well on track to probably fulfill 3 months early. Just goes to show that even with the problems that you get, and even with the potential situations that we had, it is still possible to deliver something substantial via this platform. And we will go back to Kickstarter, but we certainly won't do it for a month, and I certainly won't have the notifications going to my email address.
I'll tell you what, give us your personal email address and we'll just put it out to everybody and anybody, so you can get...
People would find it an eye-opener. The other thing is we won't reply to everybody, because actually what you do then is you reply to people and then you hope that actually your decision... I mean, we tried the route of asking people that left why they left, and we got some really valuable feedback as to why they decided to leave Purgatory, and we were able to do something with that. But we won't do that this time because we're now more seasoned in understanding what we need. The other thing, and the honest truth is, when we build a mechanism, we'd had 6 models sculpted by the time that we went to Kickstarter. I've now got sitting behind me 20 models sculpted, and there are only 25 to do, and there are only now 2 left to be finished, because the rest are all done. And the next time we go to Kickstarter, we can now do that different approach where we can say to people, look, everything that's unlocked is free, because we've covered that initial expense. The cost to sculpt these models is a huge percentage of the cost of the models themselves. And once you've got those in the bank, and once they're paid for, the cost to actually produce the models themselves, as in manufacture copies of them, is relatively low. So you can calculate the risk and say, actually, do you know what? If you spend £50, and I'm not saying this is what we're going to do numbers wise, but I'm picking numbers out of the air. This time around, our method is very much going to be, look, buy it for whatever the price is, and then everything that unlocks after that is just free. It's included.
That's pretty cool.
And we're going to give people 2 options. It's going to be, and everybody who returns as from the backing the first one will get a free model the next time from the range. They'll just get something for free for coming back and supporting Purgatory a second time. But there'll be 2 options. One will be, I was here first, just give me everything new. And the other one will be, I just want everything else. So we won't penalise people who've already bought the product by reducing the value of their spend with diluting it with models they already have. We'll just offer 2 options so that the maximum value is garnered.
Yeah, did you feel that you had a lot of different kind of goals that are rewards that people could select? Did you think that was too many? Did you think it was was there a bit of confusion about it? I mean, it sounds like you're really looking to stream that down for the next campaign.
I think so. I think we looked at other models. We'd have been foolish not to. And we looked at other models at the time, other successful models, and they had all these different options and stuff. And perhaps, actually, we overcomplicated it a little bit. I certainly won't offer the choose any model for £10. We actually gave away a model to everybody that spent £10 or more. So there were a lot of things that we done that didn't help us to drive traffic. What drives traffic is stretch goals and more free models. I mean, that's as simple as it is. And which is bad, because a lot of the negativity that we got was from people just sort of shouting at us and saying, you just don't offer me 100 models. And the answer was, you're absolutely right, we don't. Your 100 models, you've got actually 12 different models with 8 to 10 of each. They are a plastic resin hybrid that you often see people complaining about when they get their boxes and go, oh, his leg's moulded into his arm.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
We've got high quality resin models sculpted by some of the best sculptors in Europe currently. And they are good for painting, at a tournament, as they are for playing on the gaming board. So I suppose we are. I don't mean to sound sort of aloof, but there's a higher quality product potentially on offer, and with that comes a cost. So yes, I think we probably got it wrong last time. We know that we got it wrong last time, and this time it will be a much shorter campaign. It'll be very focused on what we're trying to achieve. So it will be bringing new factions to the fore. You're going to see the gangbangers. You're going to see the refugees of religion. They're going to be out there. We've already started doing some of the models for those. And we're going to start completing people's collections so they can really start changing the models around and interacting with different factions and whatnot. So we already know what we're going to do.
So let's switch this up a gear, because we have kind of been about Kickstarter. When in all fairness, I like Kickstarter, you like Kickstarter, it's a platform that's there, and it's done a lot of good work for what it does. But let's talk about where you are in the campaign, because there's still, I mean, you aren't talking like a defeated guy. You're talking about a guy that's had the X Factor thing. They would go, you've been on a journey. That's what's happened with you, Gary.
I feel like David Hay.
You've been on a journey and you've went out the other side. That's what's happened to you. And that's the worst. I'm going to claim that's not bad.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Not bad at all. It's what happens when you work when your wife's from Northern Ireland, but she doesn't actually speak like that.
Wow.
So that's the worst thing. Anyway, moving swiftly on. But you've been through the other side. You're fighting fit. You don't sound like you're defeated. You sound still very, very passionate for what you're doing. So what's happening then? Lay it on the table. Tell us what's going on. Where are we with the project?
We've been lauded, actually. We send updates out pretty much every week. Where there isn't one every week, there's one every other. We tell people every time a new model comes out, we give them an update. We've updated people about where we are every single week, and where we are is simply this. There are 25 models to make as part of the Kickstarter. 23 of them are made. One is quite difficult, Stevie Wonder's piano. We've had that done digitally by a chap called Fraser, who is incredibly talented, and everything we've done to date has been traditional. So this was something new for us, and we've worked very closely with the guys at Paranoid Miniatures, actually, and we've shared some learning together as we're friends. So that's been quite useful, and the models themselves are, like I say, almost done. We've just released another model work in progress, because we understand that all of these people are going to be waiting for their box, but they know what's in their box. So we think there needs to be another new model to be looking forward to. That the progress can't stop. So there is another model that's on its way that will be out very soon. The artwork, all of the Gift of the Gods cards are done. I can tell you that I need just over 14,000 Gift of the Gods cards. I know, because I've counted all the pledges up.
Are you drawing them individually, or are you doing a photocopy thing?
Well,
are you doing a scanner? No.
I've got to get them all at mine, and then I've got to sit there like the worst card player in the world, and just put them all into sets.
You take them down to Tesco's and getting the memory card out and saying, how many would you like to print? 14,000.
14,000, please. Yeah, thanks. Oh, and by the way, I'm just going to go and change all of my pennies in that machine over there to get 20 quid out to pay you.
Exactly. Just standing like a what?
We need a phenomenal amount of cards, which is great. And the artwork. I mean, the artwork is just. We've got 3 people that have been doing them for us. No, 4, and it's the quality of the artwork. But and I'm childish. I am absolutely childish. And the Gift of the Gods cards just are childish. We have in the Halloween set, for example, a card called Tricked and Treated. Treated is just a reflection of kids that have been viciously fed Skittles by a babysitter who's about to go home. The models just, buzz around the board like they're high on Skittles.
That sounds fantastic.
We've got all sorts of stuff. There's an incredible story I can tell you. It's off piece, but you will love it. I used to live with a guy called Dom, and he said to me one day, he said, "Can you come in my room, please?" And
okay.
Yeah, I know. And I said, okay. So I wandered in, and he said, wait for it. There, can you hear it? And I could. There was this pang. And Dom's a bright chap. And I sort of said to him, this noise is you've had your light on all day, mate. You've got a metal lampshade. You've turned the light off. It's contracting and it's shrinking, and that's what the noise is. And he accepted that, and he moved on.
Yeah.
Anyway, we sat in his room another day playing, Xbox, whatever it was, and the thing just rattled like there was a fly in it, banging around. There was no fly. There was something going on. Now, Dom, bless him, will go and watch films like The Grudge on his own at the cinema at midnight on Halloween. He hates horrors, but he'll do that to himself because he's a fool. So he believed this thing was the Demon Shade, and we had to get rid of it. So it got taken down. I had to take it down. He wouldn't go near it. And we put it in the garage. Anyway, I used to run a games club called Legion, and Dom said, "Look, I want rid of that thing. I want it away. Let's put it in the raffle." We'd done this childish raffle, basically. And Dom won the Demon Shade, which is a remarkable event in itself.
Did you fix that?
No, we didn't. No, we didn't.
Did you hand it over to him and go, din, din, din,
do you know what? He done that noise. He literally went white as a sheet. And then he literally, at the end of the night, he ran outside and he threw it into the car park and just like I need to get rid of it now. It's got to go. At that point, I wish I'd have picked it up, driven home really quickly, and put it on his bed, and then exited the house.
That would have been hilarious. Do you know what you should have done? You should have actually went out and sourced another 2 or 3 of them.
Oh God, like their bread. It'd be amazing.
Can you imagine that? If he went right, that's it. We're gonna take it. We're gonna take it down the tip, and we're gonna smash it up, and then we're gonna bury it, and then we're gonna pour various stuff on it. And then on the way home, you just text somebody and say, "Go and stick the shade up."
It would have been brilliant.
He just walked back into his room and he go.
I know. He melted. He absolutely melted when we gave him the Demon Shade after the thing. But and I've completely lost where I was by telling you that story. But no, we are. The childishness is that we have the Demon Shade as a Gift of the Gods card. And the rules. I mean, he doesn't know this, but we're going to slip one in his set as a bit of a giggle. And basically, what it does, it just target model within range doesn't benefit from cover whatsoever as the demon shade lights them up, kind of thing. So we're taking sort of personal experiences and in jokes and childishness to the next level. We have a card called Gandhi's Flip Flop.
Okay.
You've just got really, really bad morning breath, and it's a flame template. That kind of stuff. So it's all a bit tongue in cheek.
So how close are we to? You said you're early, potentially 3 months early.
Yeah, we are. We just got on with it. A lot of people have asked me, "Do you do this alone?" I said, "No, Aiden's with me, but Aiden doesn't have a computer." Which, well, he does. He has every single console known to man.
But he doesn't have a computer.
And he collects Super Nintendo games. But he doesn't have a PC.
Has he still got his Monopoly thing going on?
Oh, mate, don't even go there. He's got another new one recently. He's catalogued them all now. If you go into his garage, he has DVDs in there, and they're all and they're by genre. So you've got comedy in one corner, you've got thriller in the next, and they're all alphabeticalized, and they're all in those plastic things you get at like the range, the clip boxes. And he's got all these Monopoly ones in there as well. He's just remarkable.
Why has he got them in his garage? What happens if it gets damp and wet? What happens if the garage leaks?
I would probably say that his garage is nicer than his house. It's a fortified mansion.
It's a proper man cave.
It's got triple Celotex and foil back plasterboard that's double thickness.
Really?
No, I joke, but
it's pretty close though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You're saying you're joking, but he's been thinking about that. Has he mentioned to it casually in the pub? Has he said to the side, "What do you think about triple layer back-foiled kind of plasterboard?"
He hasn't said that, but I've asked him. He said, "No, they're all organised. I check on them regularly." Oh, okay, all right, mate. Just in case like someone moves them in your sleep and like reorganises them and puts them in the correct order.
Because that was the best opening to an episode ever. Because it's like, do you play like rubbish games like Monopoly? And then there was the silence. It's like, actually, I collect them, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, we found something here, boys. Red alert.
No, exactly. And I was like, no, I actually remember saying, no, let's talk about Monopoly. Because normally folk just go, it's just Monopoly, isn't it? Let's just move on and talk about something else. But we actually had a really, really decent conversation. So if you go back to the 15th of September last year, and if you've got an hour and 1 minute and 22 seconds to kind of, then, have a listen to the episode and listen to Aiden wax lyrical about his Monopoly set. It's fantastic.
I do serve him my winner's mug every time he comes round.
Really?
Yeah, it's got to be done. It's just banter.
Oh, just fantastic.
Just banter.
Fantastic. So
we are with in terms of progress, we have a box, we have a cover, we have a back, we have sides. That's always a good start.
Yes.
We've ordered all the dice. That's the easy part. The Pledge Manager was remarkably popular. Actually, we've done nearly £5,000 on the Pledge Manager, which really boosted things up a little bit.
That's because you funded about. Wow, that's really good. That's almost like a third of what you funded at.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and the Pledge Manager went absolutely nuts. And we've offered all sorts of things on there. We actually had people asking us for an artwork book, for example, and we're producing an artwork book, The Art of Purgatory. So box is done, dice is done, cards will be finished this weekend.
Once you get to Tesco's.
Yeah, once I get to Tesco's. Poor little bugger on the till is going to be...
exactly.
He's going to hate my guts.
There's a barcode on the back of every one of them, so he's got to scan all 14,000.
Oh, God, do you know what? I would video that. The cards are done. We create these things called random cards. So what we've done with the random cards is we've included Gift of the Gods cards and character cards that you can't get yet. They are very much beta cards. So it gives you the opportunity to play with characters in an un-WYSIWYG fashion, and just see what the new character is going to be like. So you can really start looking forward to what's coming next.
That's pretty cool.
So the cards are done. The models, like I said, are done. The rules are finished. They are finalised, and they were proofread at the weekend.
Did you change them a lot? Because I noticed that in the playtesting kind of group that you came in and says, "Oh, we've done some changes to range combat now. We've done a couple of changes to here." Did you find that, having the playtesting group kind of running up and running and working helped kind of finalise a lot of the rules because you had different eyes looking at them?
Yeah, it was interesting. I sort of had a bit of a grizzle and said, and I had like 30 people come back and tell me all these comments about it. I mean, we had people, a little shout out to Jason, to Alan in particular, Alex, who read the rules back to front and then just sent the Word document back with comments everywhere. And I sort of said to a couple of people I know who've also run Kickstarters and games, and they just went, "Mate, that's like 27 more than we had, and we're big." We had a phenomenal degree of feedback, and we had to make a decision. When we first wrote the rules, they were a mighty 64 pages of A4. That's just the rules. I mean, that's a remarkable amount of reading to do. It's now down to a slick and svelte racing snake that's 43 pages of A5.
That's a decent reduction. That's half the size and 10% off the page. Well, more than that actually.
Absolutely.
That's a decent cut down.
And it includes artwork as well. So some pages are interspaced by artwork. There's a lot more images in there. We got asked for more imagery. We got asked for tables. We simplified the game. We made a decision where we said we're going to make this matter of fact, and we're going to take away all the fluff, which is the nice sort of chatty stuff that makes it kind of cool and, trying to pretend that games designers are actually interesting. So we changed all that, and we decided that we were going to have a background bit at the front instead, which is in the final stages of being completed. So,
cool.
So when you get the rule book, you'll get, sort of 28 pages of how Purgatory became the Age of Purgatory, what the gods are all about, how they do their thing. I can talk about that in a bit of detail if you want, but and then you get the back sections, the rules, so that you can play the game and learn it. And we've upgraded the quality of it, so it's going to be like a perfectly bound book rather than a stapled rule book kind of thing. So we've made massive efforts, and to have that proofread and in hand is a huge step for us.
It sounds like you're going to end up with some delighted and very, very happy backers, considering the amount of active feedback you guys seem to be kind of getting as well.
We get when we put updates out, we get people say thank you because apparently, and I don't know whether this is true or not, but people seem to suggest that Kickstarters finish and then they don't hear anything for months and months and months. I think we've bucked that trend by just giving people just constant updates to say, this is where we want people to be inspired or have confidence in our ability to deliver this thing. It was close to not happening, and actually we made a mistake of saying that. So we now need to make sure people trust us as people they've given their hard-earned money to actually deliver something to them that you would want to go and buy off a shelf yourself. And we think that's really important. So we are, every time we can upgrade something or improve the quality of it, that is exactly what we're doing.
You still sound excited. You still got a kind of an appetite for what you're doing. I mean, what is next for Underestimated then?
So some things have happened actually. There's a company in Germany called Fischkrieg, which is an awesome name. Those guys are now official retailers of Underestimated games. They stock all of the models. You can get them from you can get it from their web store. we also have a company, and this name is glorious. They're called the Emporium of Rare and Remarkable Gaming.
That sounds brilliant.
Oh, it's remarkable. These guys, he's a really nice guy. He was a backer in the Kickstarter, and he's now stocking Purgatory, the range of Purgatory, in his store, and so things have really kicked on. There's been a lot of interest in the range as we bring more and more out. I think when I paint them or when other people paint them, it kicks it on another bit. So we're at Salute, having attended Dragon Meet and South East London War Games last year quite successfully. We're back at Salute this year, which we're really, really looking forward to. Because we want to benchmark it against the previous year. Last year we had 5 models, a packet of fags, and a 3-legged dog. This year we've got 20 models, and Aidan and Gary wearing our finest Monopoly attire. So we think we can. It'll be good to see how we do this year versus last year, and then we've already discussed what we want to do for next year, for the next Kickstarter. Sorry, so we think we're going to go back around about August. It will be a 2-week campaign. We'll be releasing more factions for people, so that there's new models to play with and new things to look forward to. There'll be more scenarios. We will advance the story on, as well as we introduce other characters and other worlds. So for those people that have heard the previous podcast, or who go back and listen to it, Purgatory is not just about Earth. We've given ourselves the ability to bring other entities in it. A wonderful play on words appeared to me whilst I was in Hampstead Tube Station, and we have a race called the Hemogoblins rather than the Hemoglobin.
Oh, what? Stop it.
Yeah, we have that.
That's just ridiculous.
And it just appeared, these guys are from a different planet. They're within our universe. They're within our realm. They've come via the portals. They're incredibly weak. They're killing themselves because they crave the sustenance that only a body can give. And actually ours is oxygen rich, so they want ours in particular, but actually accelerates their demise. They're big, gangly creatures. They're very slow, very ponderous, and actually it's enabled us to create rules in game. So, for example, they will feed if a model dies nearby. They have to, though they work in packs, and they're quite sort of ruthless when you're isolated, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we know what's next. There's going to be some snippets in there in the rulebook. There'll be some nods to future stories. There'll be a big story. You have a really good understanding about how Purgatory came about, what the gods are about, why we were even created in the first place, and really about what's going to happen next. So there's a lot to look forward to. We're exploring as well. This takes a lot of work. We're exploring the introduction of a progressive campaign at some point as well. So you'll be able to use these models and you'll be able to play predetermined campaign scenarios where you pick up other characters along the way. So, for example, you might start as Keisha, and you might start lost in a backyard somewhere, and then you sort of amble around, and by completing various missions and tasks, you bring your faction together, and then you might encounter an angel, and you've got to take it down, kind of thing. So we've got lots of ideas. We are passionate about it. So yeah, we're trying to. We always said that we want Purgatory to be something that people can keep going back to. That's fresh. That gives people something unique each time they play it, and the game we've done a lot of play testing, and actually, some characters have been broken, but you expect that when you're building a game, but the rules themselves haven't been, and every time we've asked people, they've actually really enjoyed it, thoroughly, in fact. So I think we're doing something right.
And you're happy with where you are now, then? I mean, ultimately, the person that I spoke to back in September, which you should go back and listen to that, folks, because it's a good episode. Just, go for the Monopoly, but stay for the Purgatory chat, because both Gary and Aidan give a massively beautiful backstory to how Purgatory actually came about. so you should listen to that anyway. But I mean, based on what you know now, I mean, you sound contented to where you kind of are now, and you sound positive to where you kind of are now. Is that where you are, kind of with the business at the moment?
Yeah, I think so. I was talking to the chaps from Paranoid, and you go from sometimes from hour to hour, from day to day, from week to week, and 1 week you face challenges where a good example is Moloch, who is a huge model. I mean, he is huge. I have him. He's arrived, and I'm going to put him together actually. When we estimated what his cost would be, we took a lot of people's considerations on board, and he came out more expensive, a lot more expensive. And then you realise that's bottom line. You've got to find that to deliver this project. And then the next week you've got a brand new retailer who's taken 120 models from you, or you've got a fantastic piece of artwork that lands, and you go, do you know what? I know exactly where I'm going to put that. And I think the hardest thing about doing a Kickstarter is challenge before you do it. Challenge yourself. Challenge your ability to compartmentalize. You have to be able to switch off, and you cannot complete each task by rote. You can't just go, right, I'm going to do that and it's done. I'm going to do that and it's done. We have got 7 artists that work for us, on an on and off basis. I have 5 sculptors that work for me. I have a printing company that works for me. I have, all these different people that interact with you, or you need to interact with on a daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly basis, and they all. It's project management to the nth degree. But you're not only are you a designer, you're a creator, you're a manager, you're a supply chain manager, and you're an accountant all at once. Because just to break that down, we design the characters and we send them off to an artist. So you subcontract that out, and then you manage that process until you're satisfied with the art that comes back. We then create the rules. So we're a game designer, and then we play test those rules. So we're then gamers again. And then we're guys that have got to get a piece of artwork to a sculptor, who's going to then turn that into a model. And you've got to go, that scale's a bit off, that needs tweaking, that needs moving, that needs changing. You manage that whole process over what could be 2-3 weeks or a month. And then once that's done, you're a supply chain by getting it to the manufacturer and asking for X number of them. And then you're back and you're a salesman, which I can fall into quite easy. And you're out there and you're telling people about this new model and how they want it. And then I'm a painter, because I've got to paint these models to make people see that what they can look like when if they take time to paint them. And then you're an accountant, because we're a limited company and we have to pay the tax man. So
exactly.
There's a lot to it. And I'm immensely proud of Purgatory. It had a very tough start, but its future is only as good as the passion that we're prepared to instill into it.
Yeah. And you sound very, very, very passionate as well, which is good.
I appreciate that. That's kind of you, and I'm glad it comes across, because we're committed to this, and we think we've got something good.
So for the folk that have listened tonight, and they want to keep a track of things and keep an eye on you guys, remind us again, where's the best place to find you on the interwebs and internets?
Please don't judge us by our website. We're upgrading that. We're talking to people at the moment to change that. When you're a small company, you get friends to help out, and a friend helped out, did a great job, but we need direct access to it, and we need to update it more frequently, because we do so much now. It's become so much more. We have a website. It is www.purgatory-miniatures.co.uk. We have a Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Purgatory Miniatures. You can find us on Instagram, and you can find us on Twitter at Purgatory Minis. So you can get us anywhere in all those places. We post in a number of different groups. We would encourage you to come and have a little look. We have a range that consists of a nun with a riot shield and a baton to a granny wielding scissors with long socks to a play on
the
clown. I need to tell you about his story. The clown who's got some balloons and a Tommy gun to Jess, who's got an Acme hammer that launches a boxing glove at you. It is as broad as you can possibly get. And there is something for everybody there. We can absolutely assure you of that.
So check it out and have a look. Now, if you want to keep an eye on what we're doing, and I really don't understand why so many of you are, you can go visit our website, which is we'renotwizards.com. You can email us, which is magic@we'renotwizards.com or .co.uk. We're on Facebook, We're Not Wizards. We're on Twitter, We're Not Wizards. We're on Instagram, We're Not Wizards. We're on all the lovely podcast places like Stitcher and Acast, and we're also on iTunes. And if you like what you hear tonight, and as we always say, we'd love it if you kind of jumped onto iTunes and gave us a review. But don't give us a 10, because that'll make us big-headed. And don't give us a 1, because that'll make us cry. But give us a 5, because that's kind of in the middle. It's a bit average. It's just like us. We're just a bit average. We're also on YouTube as well. Well, might as well tell the truth.
Well, yeah.
Everybody else is the best board gaming podcast you'll ever listen to. We're kind of like, we'll let them struggle along at being the best, and we'll just kind of just amble along, slightly clueless, but with a grin on our face. We are also uploading all of our previous episodes to YouTube as well. They will be on playlists. And Gary Devereaux will be joining the playlist soon, which will be under repeat offenders.
Jail number 969.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? Devereaux, give your name, number 728423. You have been found guilty of gross modelliness and paintiness, and you shall be sentenced to 25 years. No.
Of cleaning models. 25 years of cleaning other people's models.
Games Workshop ones that have been done in
Finecast.
Games Workshop ones that have been done in gloss.
Oh.
And you've got a toothbrush.
Oh.
And every day you've got to use the same toothbrush to clean your teeth as well. So it's nice and minty and painty. So there you go.
Wow.
Gary, as always, it's always a pleasure to speak to you. You're genuinely a really nice guy that I have a lot of time for, and it was good to have you back on and catch up. It's always good to find out where the campaigns, what happens on the other side, and this was as interesting as I was expecting it was going to be, which is very interesting indeed. But just again, thank you for coming along. There are only, I guess, 2 more things to do. 3 more things to do, I guess. The first thing is to remember that I completely missed our normal nonsense intro, which I'm kind of happy I did. Secondly, is to remember that we are many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, Gary?
We're never wizards.
We're never wizards. Never wizards. Stay away from me, wizards. I've got an entire gang of people from various levels of heaven and hell that are going to kick your ass.
Well, in fairness, I must add to that, there is nothing worse than a wizard sleeve.
Oh, what? So, I'm keeping that in because it's brilliant.
Stay away from wizard sleeves. There you go. That's the reason.
You don't know what's up there. And secondly, it's the other thing that's left is to say goodbye. So it's a goodbye from the rather foul-mouthed Gary Devereaux.
And it's a good night from prisoner 92748. I'm going back to cleaning models and brushing my teeth. Thank you.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, roll 6s, stay safe, And watch out for the battle between heaven and hell, because it could be closer than you think. But until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.